All right, and we are live. Hopefully everybody's doing good today. Let everybody file in. Oh, shoot. I forgot to post it. People won't even know I'm live. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Stick with me here. Boom, share, copy link, Telegram. Oh, sorry, everybody. You get to see how the sausage is made. Boom. All right, that one's up. We know. Hopefully everybody's doing good today, guys. Welcome in, welcome in. Where's everybody listening from? It is currently 2:30 where I'm at. 2:30. Let's see. Slovakia, Greece, Belgium, Abu Dhabi, Cairo, Abu Dhabi, South Africa, Spain. That's awesome, man. It's just after midnight. Holy cow. Well, thank you for tuning in. That's awesome. That's awesome. We got some updates to talk about today. Some breakthrough sort of talk going on around New York and Torestk. We got a lot of stuff going on. Sweden, Madrid, Idaho, France, Kentucky, Harcourt, Nigeria. That's crazy too. It's crazy, man. The internet's awesome. The internet's so cool. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into this. Hopefully everybody's doing good, enjoying their weekend. I hope you all are safe. I hope your families are safe. We have just a few topics actually to talk about today, but some rather large advances and important advances on the front line. So let me go ahead and do this so that I'm smaller and you guys can see better. And here we go. All right, hold on. Denver, Turkey, Croatia, Oregon. That's so cool. Just people from everywhere is really cool. So we have two small, what I would consider rather small advances on the Avdiivka front here. Almost about to start calling it the Torestk front. It's starting to get so far away from Avdiivka now, it doesn't really make sense to call it the Avdiivka front, but until it's closer to Torestk, I will just call it the Avdiivka front. We have a small advance by the Russians just north of Netelove towards Yaznobrodivka. You can see here that the Russians have moved up and captured this lake area. You can see it has trench fortifications, bunkers, stuff around it. Likely basements of these houses were used as fighting positions, defensive positions. The Russians have now captured the lake area up to this house, and which means that they are now they have entered the settlement of Yaznobrodivka. Except I don't really think there's much here, to be honest. I don't even think it's much of a town. I think they've already captured most of it. Obviously, it has its boundary, so it has not been captured yet, but I think this is most of the structure in the area. So this little township here is likely almost fully captured by the Russians. This area will also likely fall in the coming days. If it hasn't already, it's probably already in the gray zone. But yeah, the Russians are now basically finishing up their operation to push the Ukrainians out of these areas on this side of the reservoir, line up the front line with the reservoir, and then begin operations towards the north. All right. In the north a little bit towards Sochil, the Russians have captured this large entrenchment, this large fortification. It's a very difficult fortification for the Russians to gain a foothold in. They've been trying for quite a while, and with the fall of this fortification, the Russians should be able to move out of this sort of gray zone, I would say, between Orchitny and Sochil. It was just this gap that the Russians took a very long time to advance through. We saw little advances here and there, a field at a time. Oops, did not mean to do that. My bad. Oh no. Oh no. I went all the way over to Kherson. All right. So the Russians had made little advances, but now capturing this defensive fortification will put the Ukrainians way, way further back on their defense line. Remember, this is one of the defense lines, and this is one of the larger defense fortifications on that defense line. The Russians are just unraveling it from the top down, which happened because the Ukrainians lost Orchitny. So again, the Russians already have captured the highest point of territory in this area and now look downhill in basically every direction. So again, expect the progress. If the Russians decide to push in this area, expect the progress to be quicker now that the Russians have the elevation advantage. Just fix my map right here because that's bugging me. Okay. All right. Now over to the New York salient. So this purple, I was going to do this on stream, didn't end up resulting in anything. I couldn't figure out if there was an advance over here. I don't know if it was a faulty report, so that is being deleted. All right, now we do actually have an advance up along this section of the front. We got some questions here. Let's see. Dude, I truly enjoy your show. You're good, bro. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Yep. I appreciate you, brother. I really do. Thank you guys for donating through super chats and super thanks. I always answer questions that way. My demonetized episode 6 just went up on my Patreon, and episodes 1, 2, and 3 are now free on my Patreon for all the free members. So go check that out if you guys haven't. That's just some extra content. All of my content that I put out, if it's ever behind a paywall, will eventually be free. And any important information or time-sensitive information will always be free to you guys, like my live streams and my Twitter page and stuff like that. I'm never going to put anything instrumental behind a paywall. I do the Patreon demonetized episodes where they're a little bit more graphic. They go into content that isn't necessarily overly necessary for understanding this conflict, but it sure does help. So if you want to watch those episodes when they come out and in a timely fashion for when the events occur, that's the easiest way you can do that. But eventually all those episodes will be free. So if you're looking for some more content and to see some combat footage and some explanation of combat footage, head over to my Patreon and check that out. Also, just because I didn't do this in the beginning, if you guys don't know, this is being streamed on my YouTube and on my Twitter. So if you're watching on one or the other, you can always go to the other to find more information and more content. And you can find those links in the description of the YouTube video. All right, back to the map. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we saw this orange advance yesterday or the day before, which is it was a pretty significant advance. Remember, this is 2014 fortification lines right here that run through here. So, or 2014, 2015. So the front line has not moved here since 2014. So any movement along this line is something to be noted just in general. When it is such a large advance like the one we see here, it's something that needs to be very, very closely examined because something probably went wrong. The reports coming out are that there was a failed Ukrainian rotation in this region. The Russians took advantage of that failed rotation, entered and made it to this water treatment facility, capturing the trench fortification in the area, and just pushing through the already established defense line that the Ukrainians had set up. This was a huge deal in and of itself. Today we got an update. This is the green that you're seeing here. That the Russians have captured the settlement of Shumi, which is really just these destroyed buildings. You can see these buildings have been destroyed for forever. Don't know when the last time anybody lived in this place was, but it is directly on the front line. You can see that what the important aspect of what the Russians did here is that they captured these large trench networks and fortifications in this area. You can see that this place is just scarred. Again, these trench fortifications are much more established than what you're seeing here, but these whole tree lines are riddled with trenches. You can see the trenches up here, the trenches over here. This is a major collapse for the Ukrainians. This is a very bad um, happenstance. I imagine most of these tree lines have trench lines in these tree lines, fortifications all over the place. And the Russians also captured the Telecon, which also has fortifications on it. So this is a very significant Ukrainian collapse. This is now akin to what we saw in Avdiivka when the Russians did their the special operation in the pipe that went behind the fortifications in this area. Same exact thing. The Russians got in behind all of these fortifications. You can see it's almost the same sort of. You can see the scarring on the earth, the same. All the fortifications everywhere. This is something. This is the exact same as New York and Torestk, right? This is the exact same fortification style, exact same amount of time that it's been defended. And then when the Russians got in behind, the whole thing collapsed, and then Avdiivka collapsed, and now look at what we're looking at. Uh, you know, when did Avdiivka collapse? That was February, right? February, March, and now look at what we're looking at in June. I mean, the Russians have pushed out completely out of Avdiivka, taken one, two, almost three defensive lines now, and are continuously progressing towards Pokrovsk and towards this ring road, which is on the Konstantinivka-Pokrovsk highway. So, this is what is going to happen over here. This exact same thing is what's about to happen over here. With these fortifications falling now, the Ukrainians are not going to have the most stable fallback positions. They will have some, but nothing that's going to match these defensive positions and sort of the no man's land that was existing between the Ukrainians and the Russians here. This is a new front now that has opened for the Ukrainians. They will be forced to respond with reserve rotation. I don't know what the reserve rotation for the Ukrainians is looking like. It doesn't appear that they have a ton of mobile reserves. It looks like a lot is being bogged down up in the Kharkov region right now, which again, the Ukrainians have not really advanced here much. Some, they've advanced some over here around Lipsy, and then the Russians are kind of taking back most of Vovchansk. So there's not a ton of Ukrainian troops to even respond to this. I'm sure they can muster something, but once they respond to this, I think that this is going to be the make or break right now for the Ukrainians. I said that I thought that they would be able to stabilize the situation in Kharkov, just because the Russians. I mean, the Russians aren't introducing enough troops to go for the city of Kharkov itself or anything like that. They're just creating that buffer zone, creating an incursion that forces Ukrainian troop rotation. It's almost meant to get bogged down in that way if it's successful, right? Because you don't want to overinvest in this area. There is bloody battles going on here. Don't get me wrong; both sides are fighting very hard. But the Ukrainians are actively trying to push the Russians out, where the Russians are just sitting and letting the Ukrainians run at them, right? So I don't know if the Ukrainians are going to be able to respond to this. And then if they do, I think that somewhere along the line over the next 2 to 3 months, you're going to see a major collapse and a breakthrough by the Russians. If they continue to push the way that we've seen and they continue to stretch the Ukrainians the way that we've seen, and the Ukrainians aren't able to, I don't know how well their mobilization is going. It doesn't look like it's going particularly well. Depending on if they can resolve their manpower issues, they might be able to stabilize the situation. But this right here is really not what the Ukrainians needed right now. It's going to put a lot more pressure on an area that was basically quiet. Again, the New York conglomerate has not seen any movement since 2014. The fighting has been relatively minimal in this area since 2022. And now you're seeing two breakthroughs, and this front is now opening up. But the Ukrainians are still not able to deal with what's going on near Pokrovsk. The Ukrainians are still not able to deal with what's going on up in Kharkov, and they are still losing territory in the LPR and Kharkov regions over by next to Kupiansk. So the situation continues to deteriorate for the Ukrainians daily. It's getting worse and worse. Some of the combat footage I've seen as well seems to suggest that Russian attack helicopters are now operating in close air support roles, and not just with missiles like the LMUR, which can be fired from kilometers away, but unguided rockets in a nose down sort of scenario, firing the main gun. I posted that on my Twitter. It will be in the Demonetized 7 episode. I will be covering it because of how important it is to see, because what we've seen is helicopters pitching up and firing their rockets like this and then backing out sort of in like a artillery mode almost, just, a barrage of missiles in that direction. But now we're actively seeing Russian helicopters assaulting Ukrainian positions nose down, which is a new happening. I also believe that we're seeing a lot more aggressive movements from Su-25s. So overall, Russian close air support is getting much more active along the entire front. And that's just due to the Ukrainian air defense, frontline short range air defense and man pads becoming fewer and fewer on the battlefield. All right. Got a donation. Let's see. Seymour Hersh said today in an article that there are heavy negotiations taking place between the U.S. and Russia to end all hostilities. What do I say? No, I don't. How does that make any sense? Where does that make any sense? The U.S. has not at any time made any concessions, made any never gave any signals that they're ready to negotiate. They don't want to negotiate. Russia is to the point where they're not going to negotiate from a place of weakness because they are not in a place of weakness. And the two sides are just bringing non-starters to the table every single time, right? Russia's saying that Ukraine needs to leave the 4 oblasts as a non-starter for Ukraine. Russia's saying that the West needs to lift the sanctions as a non-starter for the West. And then whatever, Zelensky's peace plan nonsense. The Russians leave and they pay reparations and stuff like that. I mean, that's just surrendering. So no, I don't think there's any peace coming. I don't think anybody should hold their breath for this. We do this every 6 months where everybody pretends like there's going to be some negotiated peace settlement and one side's going to get fucked and everybody gets mad. But no, that's not going to happen. The only way this war is going to end, it's gotten to the point where the only way this war is going to end is if the people right here or the people right here get kicked out of office. I don't know about you guys, but just mathematically and just looking at this just from a big picture sort of view, I don't see how the guys in the Kremlin, in Moscow, lose to the guys in Kiev right now in terms of regime change. One of these two regimes is going to have to go, and I don't think it's going to be this one. That's my personal opinion. You're more than welcome to disagree. But that's the way I see it. So no, do not be looking out for any negotiations. You're not going to see negotiations. That's not going to happen. It's all theater, guys. Everything has already been decided. It was probably decided in 2022 after Istanbul failed. It just takes this long for things to actually happen in the real world. Like building up your military industrial complex to support a large war effort, like a serious large war effort like the Russians are now in, takes about 2 years. The U.S. is starting to do it like right now or a couple months ago. That's going to take much, much longer to come online. 2 years, right? So you're talking 2026, 2027. The U.S. might be doing something close to what Russia's doing, but then Russia will have more years to continuously increase their production. So I don't know. I don't see how negotiations are ever going to work. It doesn't make any sense for either side to negotiate right now. If you're talking about the people of Ukraine, these are the only people who want to negotiate. These are the only people who think negotiations will actually help them, are the actual people in Ukraine and the smart Europeans who know that they're about to get absolutely bent over when this whole project comes collapsing down and the U.S. just says, well, that's not our problem because that's over in Europe. Which is what's going to happen. I guarantee you that's exactly what's going to happen. We don't have any plans to support Ukraine long term. Once this administration is out, I don't think that there's necessarily going to be big changes. I just don't think Ukraine has that much longer So when the new administration gets in and they realize how bad things are in Ukraine, I think there's going to be a sharp turn away from overly connecting the new administration to the Ukraine project. I just think it's in its death throes, and I think that's very obvious from the aid that we're sending, the escalatory steps we're allowing to be had, and the overall dynamics on the battlefield, which show constant Russian progress. And I mean, there's not much argument to be made, right? I don't think any sensible person right now can say that Ukraine is in a position of strength, that Ukraine is even close to winning, or that Ukraine is even close to a comeback. I would say 2023 March, when all the hype around the counteroffensive was starting and the Bakhmut grinder was happening, I think that was the last time in this war where you'll see maybe a 50-50 split on people saying, well, Ukraine might win. That's over. Ukraine is not winning. The winning for Ukraine right now is not being completely destroyed and having its young male population completely eradicated. That's the win for Ukraine now. There is no victory in this battle. They can keep fighting if they want, but there is no victory. So while I am all about negotiations, my friend, I do not see any negotiations happening anytime soon. All right. That is it for the map today. Let me take you over to a article that I wanted to read. This is just some British politics, but I found this kind of interesting, and the backlash was horrible. So Farage defends Ukraine war remarks after backlash. So basically, if you didn't hear, Nigel Farage came out and basically said that the West at least has some responsibility in the war in Ukraine. And I guess that is such a wild, out of place thing to say in the West right now in terms of being a politician, that you're going to receive monstrous backlash for it. I mean, it's crazy to say, well, it takes two to tango, and that is some sort of, horrible, traitorous thing to say. But I'm going to read a little bit of this. Nigel Farage has defended his claim that the West provoked Russia's invasion of Ukraine following condemnation from leaders across the political spectrum. Writing in the Daily Telegraph, the Reform UK leader said that he had never been an apologist or supporter of Russian President Vladimir Putin, but that if you poke the Russian bear with a stick, don't be surprised if he responds. Okay, this is literally the most basic statement, right? That's the most, even if you think Russia's bad, even if you think Russia is doing something illegal, whatever, you cannot continuously provoke a response from anything, but in this case, a nation that you're unfriendly with, and then turn around and pretend like you're not doing anything and everything is happening because they're making it happen. It's this childish approach to foreign politics, foreign policy that the U.S. has constantly been using. It's the hypocrisy, the international community, the international laws, all of that nonsense is just hypocrisy, right? And the fact that you're getting mad at somebody for saying, well, if you poke the Russian bear with a stick, don't be surprised by response. Now, he's not saying that this response is justified. He's not saying that this response is, in some way a good thing. He's not supporting it. He's just saying, don't be surprised if you escalate and aggravate and agitate if that bear turns around and slaps the shit out of you. Like, that's what happens. It's just, I'm at a loss of words sometimes with Western leadership and Western media and how it plays to this. It plays to the easiest part of your brain. It really targets the reactionary, emotional part of the human brain that it just keeps people from thinking. They don't have to think. The news does the thinking for them. So yeah, I mean, if you actually take any time to read any of this, it's all just garbage. But Mr. Farage said that the war was, of course, Mr. Putin's fault. Okay, so blames Putin for the war, but that the expansion of the EU and NATO had given him a reason to tell the Russian people they are coming for us again. Again, this is not an outlandish statement. How is this something so traitorous and far-fetched? We did give them a reason. We gave Putin a casus belli to rebuild the Russian state. It's exactly what we did. We had them in the palm of our hands in the 1990s and the early 2000s, and then we blew it because of our greed and our lack of attention and just everything, our lack of experience. It's mind-boggling. See, despite what a lot of people think, I am actually very pro US. I want the US to be the best country in the world, and we're not. And it's despicable, and we're weak, and we're soft. We don't even commit to the wars that we're trying to fight right now. We're failing Ukraine. Let's say whatever. Justification doesn't matter. The US is trying to maintain its hegemony. That's the only thing going on right here. I mean, if they're doing that right and they're actually controlling the world and doing it in a way that benefits US citizens, maybe it doesn't even benefit the world so much. But as a greedy, selfish American living in America, I would say, hey, at least they're doing good by me. At least my country is doing the best and being the best in the world and winning, right? No, my country loses everywhere, fucks up everything, and then we just get a bunch of money on the back end from it. And none of that money ever goes to the people who actually need it. Doesn't go to the people who actually keep the country up and running. It just goes into a very, very limited group's bank accounts, and we are, foreign accounts actually, and we never see that money again. So that's the problem I have. If we were winning, it would be a different story, but we're just losing, and we just continuously lose across the board. Ever since like 2012, like Libya was really the big start of it. You can say 2003, whatever. I mean, that it started then, sure, but the real derailment was Syria, Libya, and then the Afghanistan nonsense. Everything since then has just been huge USLs. Tyler, what is up, Tyler? Scott, Russia equals bad, Western world equals good, no exceptions. Yep, that's the black and white thinking right there. There's no gray. You can't debate, you can't raise concerns. It's either you are or you aren't, you are in or you are out, and I guess I'm out. So rip to me. Let's see. I'm gonna go through and look at a couple questions here. I had one more article that I wanted to share, a quick one. This is just Euronews. Russia barrages Ukraine's energy facilities in an overnight attack. I just thought this was interesting because there were a few omissions here that I wanted to talk about. Russia launched a new barrage of missiles and drones in an overnight attack on Ukraine, officials in Kiev said Saturday morning. Russia launched a new barrage of missiles. God, can they just repeat themselves more and more? Damaging energy facilities in the country's southeast and west and injuring at least 2 energy workers. It's the 8th attack. So, okay, so this is the first omission. We've only seen 8 major attacks on the Ukrainian energy grid. That's interesting. I would have thought that it would have been more by this point. It's been going on since March, but with the censorship, we don't always know what's getting targeted in Ukraine, and we kind of have to make educated guesses. But now we know there's been 8 attacks, and Russia has reduced Ukraine's energy generation by 60% or something like that in the summertime. So this is not a good look for Ukraine come winter. Ukrainian power plants. Since Moscow intensified energy infrastructure attacks 3 months ago, Russia fired 16 missiles and 13 Shahid drones at energy facilities and critical infrastructure, the Ukrainian Air Force said. They said they intercepted 12 out of 16 missiles, source trust me, and all 13 drones, source trust me again, by the Russian Air Force. State-owned power grid operator Ukrnegro said that the strikes damaged equipment and facilities in Ukraine's southeastern Zaporozhye region and the western Lvov region. Okay, so the Lvov region strike, we actually did get footage of that. It will be in my demonetized episode. I can't show it on here because that's the kind of stuff that will literally just get my videos demonetized via the algorithm. But a large column of smoke over Lvov, the generation facility. It might have been a generation facility or perhaps a distribution facility in Lvov was struck. Serious damage was done to it, and it burned for quite some time. So I will be showing that in the demonetized episode this week. I'll actually probably film it tomorrow. I think we have enough footage now. Also in that, I'm curious as to what you guys think. I was gonna maybe take a little poll or something, but there's this YouTube video that I was talking about with some of my buddies. Hold on, let me see if I can find it real fast. And I was just curious if you guys would want me to kind of go over it because it's a pro-Ukrainian video, and I saw a lot of holes in it, and it's extremely popular, and I kind of wanted to talk about it. And it's Peter Zehine. I don't know. I'm sure you guys know of him. He is just a sort of a neocon mouthpiece. He really pushes the narrative hard, but he just put out a video about F-16s. It's a 5-minute video. And I think in my demonetized episode, I'm also going to go into that video and kind of pick it apart and explain why it doesn't make any sense. I mean, literally yeah, exactly. Scott reacts. From the very start of the video, it just doesn't make any sense, and it has like 500,000 or 600,000 views now. So I feel like it's kind of important to go in and just kind of tear apart like propaganda pieces like that. I'm thinking I might do some of that just with that one video. I don't know. I don't feel like doing it all the time or anything. That's not really what I want this channel to become. But it's just it was particularly horrible to listen to. So yeah. Yeah, he's a DC think tank neocon shill. Yeah, I heard him on Rogan, and I was literally just like ripping my ears out when he was talking about certain things. I was like, "Holy Christ, man, this is bad." All right, but yeah, so I was thinking about doing one of those videos like that. I was curious as to your guys' thoughts. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and answer some questions now and chat with you guys for a little bit because I have shown you everything that I want to show you today. Let's see. I saw a question up here. Aiden got a question. Your sister seems more intelligent than you, or the more intelligent one. What happened to you, man? Why aren't you working with an adversarial government who threatens to attack our country and nuke our allies? Okay, first off, not working with any government. Russia doesn't pay me anything. I'm actually sure my videos would not play very well in Russia. I actually talk shit about the Russian military and government quite frequently when they fuck up and I don't agree with what they do. I'm not pro-Russian. I see the justification for the war based on our foreign policy and our actions. And if you don't like what I say, you can take it up with the First Amendment. Honestly, nobody really gives a shit about your opinion. Also, my sister is very beautiful, and she is definitely way smarter than me. God bless her, chemical engineer, absolutely killing it in life. She's happy. And yeah, we talk politics all the time. And guess what? She disagrees with me on some things. I don't care. That's her right. I don't get this question. I don't know if you're trying to intimidate me with my whole sister thing. I mean, you can go on my Instagram and see this stuff. It's public. It's not a threat or anything like that. But yeah, my sister is the smart one. Look at me. Look at me. You think I got any of the good? No. No. Didn't I say something about Sweden? I don't think so. I do not think so. You are not pro-neutral, that's clear. I don't know what pro-neutral is. That's not a real thing. There is no pro-neutral. It's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. I'm not pro anybody. I just analyze the conflict and tell you how it is. If you don't like it, leave. But Alonzo, you can stay because you're just helping me boost my engagement, my stats. So stay in here, buddy. We love you. Love you, Scott. Love you too, Gabriel. I love you guys. All right, here we go. We got a question. Do you think that Putin leaves or dies, someone else will come in and immediately end the war? And with no, what? Why? If Putin were to die from the cancer that he's had for the last 10 years that everybody talks about, if Putin was to die from that, whoever comes into his position is first off going to be much more hardline. The Putin is so soft and he's so pro Europe and he's so he's so afraid to escalate and to stand ground with the United States and Europe, and that's probably a good thing for Russia. I think it's actually played really well for Russia up until this point. They haven't really played into what the U.S. wants Russia to do. The Russians are going to win the war on their own terms, on their own time, and they're going to do it their way. And people are going to laugh at them. It's going to be ugly, whatever. But the Russians are going to win, and they're not going to be baited into what the West wants them to do. So that's the one good thing about Putin. Whoever replaces Putin, guys, is going to be a hardliner, unless there's some dramatic collapse of the government and then whoever gets put in, that's a completely different story. But if it's a relatively peaceful transition, maybe new elections, something like that, whoever comes in is going to be much more aggressive than Putin. And why would anybody withdraw from Ukraine when they're winning? That would be the end of your presidency before it even started. You're winning a war and then you decide to withdraw for no reason. That doesn't make any sense. It literally makes no sense. The war is on the back nine for Russia right now. The military industrial complex is already ramped up. Their manpower, the force disposition in Ukraine is starting to turn into Russia's favor. They're winning in the East with China and the alliances that they're making over there. I don't see I don't know where this talk is coming from of a withdrawal or any sort of surrender. No. If somebody gets into office, Ukraine might get leveled a little bit quicker. That's the only thing that's going to change. That's literally the only thing that would change. You know what pro-neutral is? No, Alonso, I don't. That's not a real thing. Pro-neutral is critical against Ukraine and Russia. Wasn't I just critical of Russia like a couple minutes ago? I just said they're going to win this war, but it's going to be ugly and not the way that everybody it's not going to be pretty and the way they want it to be. But you guys are clowns, man. You don't even listen. The last NAFO I talked to, by the way, I had a great conversation with them. They were calling me like different names, and I said, "Hey, let's go into a space and have a conversation." And guess what happens when you get people from this organization alone and by themselves? See, NAFO and Nazism and communism and all of the isms out there. Any organization that attracts young incel men or old incel men. The whole purpose is that these unoriginal individuals can be safe in a group. It's like zebras, right? The reason why zebras have stripes is that so you can't see where one zebra ends and where the next one begins if you're a lion, right? That's how these organizations work. It's a way for men to hide and achieve status and power through some, in some way, because they can't do it in their normal lives. That's what these are. And when you pull those men out of that and engage them one-on-one, they don't stand up to the test. And actually, they tend to be very nice individuals. They're normal people, but when they're in that groupthink and in that mob mentality, they just turn into these these dumb savages that you can't even talk to. It's very interesting. It's very weird, but yeah. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and get some questions in. Have you seen the Simpsons 2024 predictions? No, I haven't. Any of them coming true? I feel like it's just you look at pop culture and you begin to see patterns, and then things eventually are just going to happen. And if you're making guesses every single day, or multiple seasons over 20 years, eventually something's going to come true. The Trump becoming president thing was kind of wild. That one was a little wild. How likely do you think a Ukrainian collapse or major Russian breakthrough is before the US presidential elections? That November, that's a very long time, man. November's a long time. I think that that's a very likely. I don't think you're going to see I don't know about a major collapse, but I think the lines will be much more fluid and the battlefield will look much more different in November of 2024 compared to right now. The whole summer season, and then as Ukraine is going into the winter, things are going to get more and more difficult. Energy is going to become a much bigger issue on the table for the Ukrainians, and I think you're going to see just a steady degradation and then an eventual collapse. Could it happen before November? Absolutely. I think it could happen tomorrow, technically. The way that things are like laying out, the second Ukraine can't respond to one area and the Russians seize that and actually break through, it's going to be incredibly difficult for the Ukrainians to stabilize any spot on the front after that happens. And when that does happen, that's when you'll see the big air offensives start. Zihan is a bottom feeder from another galaxy. Yeah, but that's why I want to go over his video, because I think it has like something like 600,000 views. So, all right, guys, I think that's where I'm going to wrap it up. Check out my demonetized video. That'll have the two Fab 3000 strikes in it that we've seen. The Fab 3000 is now on the battlefield. I'll be going over some of the problems that it's experiencing and what that means for the battlefield and stuff like that. Also, a bunch of combat footage and stuff will be in that. So go check out my Patreon, guys. And remember, you can just sign up as a free member over there and watch those first 3 episodes for free. So go check that out if you guys want some more of my content. Please be safe. Have a great weekend, everybody. I love you all. And I don't know. I might do something tomorrow. I might have some of the boys on to have just a chat, just to talk. Or maybe I'll do I don't know. Maybe I'll do a space or something. I don't know. If you guys want me to do something, tell me. Let me know. Tell me what you think I should do. All right. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye.